I should have been dead.
Yeah.
And I ran home and I grabbed the biggest kitchen knife and I started running back. And my mother, thankfully, she saw me running on the street with my kitchen knife and she started to charge after me. And she got me, thankfully, before. But until this day, I don't know because I was completely livid.
How do you get that confidence to be the man in charge and to instill in everybody that works for you the confidence that you know what you're doing?
I think it all starts with...
The highest form of self-love is discipline. Bas Rutten shares hard-earned lessons for business leaders on mastering yourself, leading with integrity, and building something that lasts. Welcome to the 11 Talents Podcast.
Bas, you are a world-renowned fighter. Something that you are is always prepared. I mean, you've always got to be prepared as a fighter. And so I was hoping you could kind of untap that for us and tell us a little bit about perhaps some Swedish hospitality you might have had.
Okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Crazy story. I just went to Sweden. I think it was in 99. I think we were just moving. My wife and I were just moving. I was on the road. I had to teach a seminar for money. And we went to a bar, the Spy Bar, it's called, and it was notorious for their bouncers. They would call them the mafia bouncers. They were not friendly guys, though. Everybody said they're really bad people. You know, they later on, one of these guys, they actually went on a talk show. He was crying there because apparently they put people in prison, like famous people in prison for like years or 2 years, even so. And he felt really bad about that. Anyway, so I'm coming inside. I didn't know anything yet at that moment, but while I'm walking inside, one of the bouncers says, "Hey, Rutten, you calm down tonight." And I go, "That's a weird thing to say. Why wouldn't I?" So I'm dancing and having a good time. And I was a big drinker at the time, you know, so drinking, getting drunk and people, and then bounce into a guy, "Hey, babe, what's up? Oh, Bas Rutten." Yeah, we started talking. And he says, "You want a beer?" I said, "Sure, I want a beer." And then suddenly I get tapped on my shoulder. There was a bouncer and he said, "Hey, you need to come with us." I said, "For what?" "Yeah, you're bothering the customers." I said, "Bothering the customers? Who?" And he says, "That guy right there." I said, "He's buying a beer from me right now. So why am I bothering this guy?" And "No, you need to come with us." I immediately went because I didn't want to have any trouble. So I go with them to the fire escape. It was two big doors. I went through the doors. There was this big marble fire escape going down. And it was this little guy and a tall guy. And he says, "Listen, man, you got to," and he, by the way, pokes on my chest. I said, "Dude, there's no reason to touch me. You know, I go. I don't want any trouble. Can you tell a friend of mine?" "Hey, listen, man." I said, whoa. Just relax. I said, "Just tell a buddy of mine. He's bald too. I mean, he's from Holland. He has no clue where I am. Just tell him I'm outside. I'm going. I don't want any trouble." And then the guy behind him suddenly stabbed his finger in my eye. I go, "Guys, what's going on?" And then he stabbed my other eye. So that's where I knocked him out. And then they had these little microphones. The one guy, he attacked me, but I pulled his jacket over his face and I started kneeing him in the face.
It's like an Adam Sandler move right there.
Oh, boy. And then the three other one came, and so now the fight started. And the problem was that every time when I knock a guy out, well, he wakes up more angry. Like the guy with my eyes, he was constantly going for my eyes. There was a picture in a magazine that they made after that when I came up, because I went to prison and everything for that, to the police station. Oh, actually prison as well. But my face was completely messed up. I'm flying down the stairs there. I'm fighting and bowling, and everybody's dropping, and it's going really well. But eventually I'm thinking, I'm going to run out of gas, right? It's 5 against 1. So, you know, I got to do so. Oh, wait a minute. It's a fire escape. So why don't I go down and just freaking run out? So there was this weird thing that I always said. There was a hole in the wall with a little fence in front of it, and broomsticks were there. And I fly against that thing, and I grab a broomstick, and I want to lift it out. I go, no, because I think if I do it, they're going to do it as well. So I still had to hope that they wouldn't do it. But of course, when I didn't do it, I heard the sound from the sticks coming out. Like,
you gave them the idea.
Stick. I should have gotten the stick. But anyway, I go down all the way down. I hit there was one of those push things. You have to push, like the copper thing. You have to push in, and it was locked. Now, until that time, I was still fighting according to the rules, so to say. I didn't go for the eyes or the throat. I didn't do all that stuff yet because I just wanted to be clean, so to say, because I didn't want any trouble. Anyway, so I turn around, and now I'm looking, and they're all standing there. And that's when I made up my mind. I go, okay, now I'm going to go all the way. Now these guys are going to he's going to lose an eye. He's going to,
The mask is coming off.
and everybody kind of stepped back. I go, oh boy, I felt very powerful. I thought they saw in my face that I meant business, but behind me was the whole police force. And that's why they got out. Now it's 5 against 1, so I'm locked up in jail there. They all say, yeah, you knocked out a cop. A cop? Yeah, one of them was a cop. Yeah, he didn't flash his back. He's attacking me. What do you think I'm going to do? Yeah, they said you started it. So there was no way I could defend myself. Lawyer comes. He tells me I have to be there for 6 to 9 months. I go, for what? I said, I didn't start this thing. He says, yeah, but they said it. I go, 6 to 9 months. So I'm freaking out already. Now they put me in jail. Now I go to the regular jail.
And are you married by now and have a family?
In the middle of moving. So I needed to be home in order to move. So now I go to the other jail. And it's literally a movie. You drive into a mountain. I'm not kidding. I looked it up because I go, there's no way. In a mountain stops. Then you go out. There's 2 elevators. One goes up like 3 stories. I get out, go another elevator 2 stories down, go another elevator 3 up. I go, dude, I'm never going to come out of this thing.
This sounds like the Eagle's Nest, Hitler's little empire on top of a mountain here.
Yeah, the strongest one on top. And I don't know where I was, but I was with the bad people. But then the guards walked in right away because they heard it was me and they were fans. So they brought coffee and they brought videotapes because they had a video cassette player there and the TV. And I go, dude, I need to call my wife. And so one of the guards grabbed his phone. He says, call my phone. So I call my wife. She's freaking out. So, but then, of course, I was very blessed. One of my friends there is also a known guy, and he went to talk to these guys. And I said, come on, because, of course, they wanted to retaliate. There was this whole big thing because a few of them ended up in the hospital. It was wild because I have this street fighting DVD. I have the paper article at home, the clip. They posted the street fighting, the cover of my street fighting DVD. Yeah. And then the guard said, we were so happy the police came because we could not handle it. So my sales, they went up right away.
So in the long run, you were playing the long game here for a little publicity.
Yeah. I took the hard way though, suffering, right? Yeah. I didn't know at the time because I wasn't in the faith, but that's what suffering means for yourself, I guess.
So what year was this about?
99.
99.
Yeah, long time. And since then, before that, I always get challenged by people who were drunk. Mm-hmm. And since that story came out, I pretty much never had it anymore. So,
Did you ever figure out why they started tapping you on the shoulder in the first place?
They just did that to every famous person. That's why the whole in Stockholm, everybody hated these guys.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're a pretty cut guy. I mean, do you think you're in the best shape you've been in your life?
For now, I'm in pretty good shape. Yeah. I think I look better physically almost than when I was fighting even. But I think it's also because I got older. You start losing more fat. Now I always had not a lot of fat, but so it's more cut. But I'm the same weight. I started fighting in 93 at 203, and I'm 205 now. So for the last 39 years, I've been the same weight pretty much.
And why is that? Why do you think that's so? I mean, obviously you're a fighter, so it's important to be fit, but I think it goes beyond that for you, for mental capacity. Why?
You're bullied as a kid, right? I had a horrible skin disease. I was the leper in school, so that went on.
Tell me, what do you mean you were a leper?
Well, the Malaatse, that's literally, I looked it up. That's what leper means, and in Dutch. So I'm from Holland, and I had this horrible skin disease. I had to wear gloves at times, not all the time, but it was all spots. And it was so bad if I would make a fist at times, like it would burst open and crap would come out. So it was disgusting. And kids, of course, thought it was contagious. And then the bullies loved it because, hey, leper. It was the constant grind. But then Bruce Lee movie woke me up. I was always a good athlete. And I thought, hey, if I become like that guy. So I started training. And then a year later, I already knocked the biggest bully out, surrounded me.
So you channeled that many years of inner frustration and just being bullied and put it towards fighting.
Towards fighting. And I always talk about these kids that go to school shootings, and I condone this. It's really bad. But there was one time I remember I was at the playground outside, and these kids were bullying me again. And I think I saw a Tarzan movie or something. I don't know what came up to me. I grabbed a branch because there was trees everywhere, and in my mind I would swing to the guy, stomp him in his chest, just that I saw, and the branch broke, and I fell on the ground, and everybody's around me pointing and laughing, and my home was 300 yards away from the school, and I ran home, and I grabbed the biggest kitchen knife, and I started running back. And my mother, thankfully, she saw me running on the street with my kitchen knife, and she started to charge after me. And she got me, thankfully, before. But until this day, I don't know, because I was completely livid. So I can understand it. They always say, sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt. It's the opposite. I mean, there's things that took me 30 years for people that I literally have to say, if they would say a certain thing to me that would trigger something, I would say, just don't use that word anymore. You go, why not? I said, just don't use that word anymore. It's not going to be fun because it would trigger me, and then I just snap. Really weird. So it did a lot. I think the talking was much more than a beating.
What age did you start fighting?
At 12, I started. 13, I started knocked him out. But then I broke the guy's nose, so that was the problem.
And this is, I don't want to say cage fighting, but formal fighting.
Oh, formal fighting. Yeah. So
this isn't just after school popping some kid in the mouth.
This was when I left the house. I started at 18, 19. I started training right away, kickboxing right away. Yeah. Won like 8 fights by knockout. Got bored. Decided to become a bouncer somehow. It's bad life. After party starting at 5 a.m. So it was a crazy life. And then suddenly free fighting, that's why the call came along. And they asked me to come for a tryout. There were some scouts for a new organization in Japan. That was before the UFC, 2 months before, September 93. And they said, hey, if they like you. So I got into a brawl with one of the champions of that gym. He tried to knock me out, so I knocked him out with a head kick. And that was it. They were pointing at me, and 6 weeks, 2 months later, I was fighting in Japan.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Holland, and you mentioned your mom. What about your dad? Is he at home?
Yeah, my dad's a very hard worker. He's a bookkeeper. They always instilled hard work for me. Like I had 5 jobs when I was a kid. I did everything. I worked at the farm, a dishwasher. I had 2 newspaper jobs. I stocked groceries. They would give me, like, for instance, on my birthday, they would give me a stereo. And you remember for all the way back, all the way back, it was not in one. So you had an amp, then you had a cassette player.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that.
Right? All that stuff. So
boombox, we called them.
Yeah. And now there were no speakers.
Yeah.
And I go, where are the speakers? And they go, well, you have to pay for that yourself, so you better get a job. And I didn't like that, but I remember when I was 30 or so, I called my dad one time on Father's Day and I said, hey, by the way, thank you so much for doing that. Yeah. Because I never had a problem working hard. I can work 16 hours a day, I'm very simple. If you give me a goal, I'm going to get that goal, and it just worked for it. And I think, and also with my diseases, if I had an asthma attack, it was a week in bed. So you have to do everything in bed. You're not able to eat at days because you can't breathe. It was severe, so it was not like, oh, my asthma. No, this was bad. I would lose weight. I was, and going to the restroom, and I was sleeping upstairs. We didn't have a restroom upstairs on the attic because it was the biggest place. That takes me 45 minutes to go down just to go to the restroom. And then I have to get back up, which is harder because now you have to really straight. Otherwise, I can slide the stairs down, rest again, slide down, rest again. But I also was this guy, I always thought there was people having it worse than I. Yeah. Always thought that. I knew people were there that were covered with eczema like I had.
What gave you that impression or that I mean, that's pretty, sensitive for a kid of your age being bullied to know, like, hey, I don't actually have it worse. I mean, who put that impression upon you? Like, your parents raised you this way to just know that people always have it worse than you?
No, I just realized that. I just realized asthma attacks. I heard about people who had to move to Switzerland, for the air there. So because otherwise they would have the same as I had for a whole week in bed. Yeah. They had 365 days a year. So I thought, well, compared to them, it's not really that bad then, And it's the same with my hands. I just knew there's people everywhere. You go to the doctor and you go to the doctors, the skin doctors, and you see other kids also. Yeah. You go like, oof, I thought I had it bad. So yeah, that was always my thing. I was always up.
So I've got a 15-year-old son, and there are times, and I am the youngest of 7 with a bunch of 5 of us were boys. And so I saw growing up my brothers getting testy, with my dad, and I'm starting to see that with my son a little bit. You as the, getting bullied, then getting into this fighting, like what was the relationship with you and your father?
It's been very loving. My parents, I've never seen them fight. If they argue, it's in this voice.
Yeah.
I would never heard my dad scream or my mother my dad. Never. You know, my brother is a lawyer. He's a freak. I mean, he can do anything. He was a better athlete than I am. It's amazing. Everything he did was cum laude. Like everything. I mean, when he got his bull, when he became a lawyer, they called him as last. He says, yeah, we got a guy here. We never experienced anything like it. He probably knows more than us. You know, so yeah, that's my brother right there, you know. So a very peaceful house. And but for me, I was at 13, 14. I was doing burglaries because I didn't have attention. I was playing in the forest all day long. I was in the forest, treetops to treetops. Spider-Man was my man, and of course Wolverine. Yeah. And I was, bullies would come and they climbed after me, and I would just swing to the next tree, and they couldn't do that. Yeah. One fell one time, and he almost died. So from that moment on, I was saving the trees, and I had this whole trajectory out through the forest. Pretty much, there was only 5 places I had to go down, and then run to another tree. Once I was in, and I think that my athleticism came from. There was also a thing that later on with the faith. There were 2 gigantic trees, and we're talking 30 feet high, like high trees, populieren. I don't know the name in what the name is here in America. And I was able to swing from one to the other side. And one day the branch broke. And all the way from the top, I fell all the way down. And my butt hit a big branch like this at the moment. And I landed like this.
Like a chair?
No, it's just on my feet like that. Boom. And I'm standing and I'm looking up and the whole branch is broke. So that branch somehow took exactly all the power away from me falling down. And I just landed on my feet like nothing happened.
Wow.
And so later when I came back to the church, I go, a car accident I had, you have no idea. Flying over the steering wheel was bent in the car because I was holding it. Flying over a crash barrier. No roof in the car. We were not wearing our seatbelts. And we go all the way down, missing every tree on the way down, heading upside down in the water. And I don't know how deep that water is. My friend is out because he was flying back and forth to the car. I remember grabbing him in slow motion, put him in the guard, like I was holding him like this, so to protect ourselves. I had to break the window out. The water came in, had to pull him out. People came running down. They were freaking out. He had a whole scar. His whole skull was open. And I remember the next day we went to the car, and the guys... How are the people in the car? I go, I was driving. He goes, you got nothing? I go, yeah, I got a scratch. Look, I had nothing. You see, all these things later on in life. I knocked out a toilet seat, a toilet. I slipped back when I was drunk in Hawaii, hit my head on the rim. I should have been dead. Yeah. Somehow, as a weak spot in the toilet, explodes in 150 pieces. I don't even remember. I go to bed. I remember later on we guys had 2 beds. 2 queens. I grabbed the towels, the blankets off, and I just put it on the hole, and I went back to sleep. And then the next day I woke up, and I go like, did people come in my room? And then I go to the restroom, and I always sit down because then I can't pee, and I don't have to turn the light yet on. And I'm sitting, I go, I got to get up anyway. So, and the toilet was there. So I go, no, the toilet was okay. And I flip on the light switch, and there's bloody handprints everywhere and blood. And I go like, whoa. And I'm looking in the mirror, I go, I got nothing. I go, oh, geez, I think that we can kill somebody. What did I do? So I'm looking in the closet. I'm looking on the balcony if some chalk dust lines are downstairs. Oh, nothing. Telephone goes. Security comes up, and there's this beautiful lady comes up, and she says, "How do you, sir?" I said, "Good." I said, did I break the toilet? She said, oh, you exploded. The whole 34th floor started floating. All the people start calling. I mean, we had to comp a lot of people with breakfast. And I go, oh, boy, yeah, my boss is very angry. Okay. And she goes, is that you? And I had a signed picture. And I always make these funny pictures. I don't like the serious things. So it's me like in a 70s suit, like standing with the eye, the tooth is blinking. And she goes, yeah, it's me. She goes, oh, it's a cool picture. I said, cool. And then the boss came. Oh, here he is. Get ready, she says. And he comes around the corner. He goes, okay, sorry, go. Bas Rutten. Hey, man, how you doing? I mean, all these things. I go, how can I survive that? I had nothing.
I mean, it sounds like you're spiraling at this point in your life. I mean, you're drinking, you're not remembering things. What caused you to have that turning point?
The turning point was a physical attack by some spirit in my home that was very scary. Sleep paralysis, some people would say, but it wasn't, because I would wake up from something and I get pushed into the bed on my chest, and I could move my hands. I just couldn't touch what was sitting on me. And I tried to put my foot out of the bed so to see if I could pull myself out, but there was too much pressure and then I couldn't breathe, right? Because if your chest can't expand, that's how you breathe.
Yeah.
Your lungs don't do anything. So, and then just focusing, trying to get calm, but in the meanwhile, balling up a lot of aggression. It's kind of like I would fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would release that. Then, of course, a lot of profanity. My wife would wake up again. She goes again. I go again. And I start challenging it. I thought I chased a guy in the house one time and I came around the corner and we had a curtain hanging in front of a door, in the doorpost, instead of a door. And while I came around the corner, the curtain flies up against the ceiling. So I keep running, right? Somebody just ran through it and there's nobody in the house. And that was the moment that I go, okay, something is going on here. I mean, I've seen a person walk in the house that I had grabbed a gun because I thought somebody was in the house. My kids were talking about this woman that I was always looking from the inside outside. They could describe what she looked like. And then I just went to that place where the curtain flew up. It was always cold there. And I started challenging it. I said, listen, if you want to do this, do it while I'm awake, If you're that tough, right? If you're the devil, I hear you're tough. Let's make it physical or let's make it mental, whatever you want to do. But don't wait till I'm asleep.
Yeah.
And somehow it stopped. Then I took another fight to stop me from drinking, because that was after 7 years of not competing. In 2006, 99 was the world title fight for the UFC. After that, I retired due to injuries. And then my wife goes, you're crazy. I go, no, it's going to stop me from drinking. The paycheck is nice. We never had a paycheck like this. So let's just do that. So that worked perfectly. All the injuries came back, of course. But it was good. I stopped him in the first round. And then we moved to another house for a pool. And that was not the seal yet, because that came a little bit later. I'll talk about it in a bit. The first day we wake up after the first night, and I asked my kids how it was the first night. And my daughter, who slept upstairs, she said, it was good. I had a visit from 2 boys. And I go, 2 boys. I go, you mean spirits? And she goes, yeah. I go, honey, you're not freaking out? No, they were really nice. One kept playing on the bed the whole time. And he said, hey, listen, can I go to sleep? I go, how old? She said, oh, no, 16, 17. So I go downstairs to my computer if something happened in this house. Yeah. And in 2001, that's what I always say, these poor parents, 2 boys, 4 kids, a girl and 3 boys in the car got out of control, flew through our wall. And I'm walking outside to look at the wall. It's broken there. And 2 boys died, 17 years old. So all these experiences together, and then suddenly fast forward 2014, where I sit in on a talk on Leo Severino. And then he was talking about a tree. The leaf fell from the tree, and he starts backtracking that leaf to the tree before. And this was a question that I had for my, when I was 10 years old. There's this very vivid memory that I have that I was staring out. I couldn't stop staring at the tree in the class. And the teacher tried to get a hold of me, didn't work, and I finally shouted, and I go, what's about the tree? I go, how did it get there? He goes, they planted it there. I say, I understand that, but if you go to the tree before, where do trees come from? So then when Leo started doing that, and then eventually getting to 100% proof that this place where we live, it's a design, that was me. Because if they would have said, hey, you want to sit in on this talk, and we're going to talk about Jesus or God, I go, I'll see you in an hour. Because I wasn't, I believed all the other people, say the same stupid things about the priest and all of that. You don't think, you just say stupid stuff. Yeah. You just repeat. And but he didn't say that. He said how the world came together. And then when Leo did that, a designer that's God, right?
Yeah.
And then I was full on into God suddenly. It was so powerful. Like I mentioned a bit the talk, I lost a lot of jobs, man. I had a show on TV for 9 years. They got canceled. While they said 2 weeks ago it was going to be at least 5 more years. Yeah. Lost a big commentating job. Another job went completely horrible. And there's a lot of stress from that. Lost 175,000 followers on Facebook because I came up with a video why I got back to the faith. I started losing.
And this is about 2014, you said?
14, 15. And then in 15, it's when my buddy said, hey, you should pray the daily rosary.
Because you were raised Catholic, right?
Yeah.
And you just had left the faith, kind of faded away.
Yeah. And then, I didn't know anything about, I didn't know one prayer. So, and then I started the rosary. And I remember the first week, every time when I was done, I felt very powerful, like completely different. I go, whoa, this is really powerful. Of course, we humans, we get used to everything. And then that feeling goes away. But what also started going away were the attacks from the devil. suddenly things started coming up again. And there was a little job there. Boom. And Kevin James, actually, I did 23 episodes on Kevin Can't Wait, because now the TV show was normally, we were filming live on Fridays. Well, they were shooting live on Fridays as well. So I could never be on his show. He says, why don't you come on the show? And then they like me. He says, dude, they want to make you a series regular. So everything started coming back slowly but surely.
Mm. So when you started fighting, why MMA? Why not boxing? Why not? I mean, you talked a little bit about kickboxing initially. What is so attractive about beating the pulp out of somebody else?
I think that it stems probably. Well, everybody likes to know how to fight, right? Mm-hmm. Let's face it. We can all say that I don't mind. 100% sure. If something happens and they attack your wife or something, you wish you could beat them up. Of course, everybody has that. If you go to a tennis game at a Wimbledon and it's the main guy and somebody's fighting in the audience, guess what people are watching? They're watching the fight. They're not going to watch the game. It's always fighting and being mesmerized. Conflict.
Yeah.
And to find out that if you like when a boxer or a kickboxer says, I'm the greatest fighter in the world, you're not. You're the greatest boxer in the world. You're the greatest kickboxer in the world. The mixed martial artist is the greatest fighter in the world. Because if I face a Mike Tyson, you think I'm going to box with this guy? There's no way. I'm going to take it down right away. I'm going to shoot. I'm not going to box. I'm going to get knocked out. I mean, the guy's way too good. You see, so where you are good, once you are good everywhere in every aspect of every martial art, hence mixed martial arts, that would make you the baddest fighter on the planet. So that was always very, Do
you ever look back on your time as a fighter and say, like, especially now knowing the faith the way you do, knowing that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
You ever look back and think, like, why the heck did I do this to my body? Why did I do this to these guys that I fought?
Yeah, on one side I do, but it's you're going to have to be a protector now, right?
Yeah.
And the protector is for the innocent. Like, for instance, when I was a bouncer, I was the bouncer they wanted, and not because I could fight. Yes, that was nice. But they knew from every situation there was, like 10 situations, I diffused 9 of them.
Yeah.
And other bouncers hadn't. It was always a fight. I just take them to the side, start talking to them. So what's going on? Let's break this down.
Yeah.
And most of the time ended up with both giving them a beer, shake hands, and we will go. So I was never about that. For me, it was just a bullying. And when I knew that I could fight, every kid who got bullied in school, well, guess who took care of that problem? Right? That was me. I went to a new school right away. First day, knocked out. And I was immediately the man of the school. And right away, he got bullied? Yep, step away from him. You're not going to bully him. Okay, we're not going to bully him anymore. So I was always protecting the innocent, kind of. That's what I was thinking. That's why I used my skills. And for people who don't understand it, well, then football has a way shorter career span than fighting has. What people don't realize is for us, if I'm fighting you, we are having dinner maybe the day before. We are partying after the fight. We literally shake hands. Like my title fight when I fought Chiyoshi Kosaka in the UFC. I literally walked an hour and a half before the fight in the dressing room. I know him. Yeah. He's a guy that I know very well. I say, Chiyoshi, TK, I'm going to knock you out, okay? I'm going to really try. Hope you do the same thing to me. Afterwards, you drink a beer. Sounds good. He goes, good. Okay, and you see, so for us, it's not violence. We don't have that. It looks because you put it in a cage. For you. Yeah. It's a sport.
Yeah.
We're just testing today who's the strongest guy. Yeah. And we know there's a winner and a loser. Yeah. And same as in training. You lose sometimes, So, it's no violence at all.
I mean, and it's, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about the preparation. In the Marine Corps, we had a saying, muscle memory. Like you're going to keep doing the same motions, whether it's martial arts, whether it's a rifle range, whatever. You're going to keep doing it until it becomes natural.
Yep.
And I think part of that is building this level of confidence in you, which clearly that's, I think, what you're leaning towards is this confidence that you have where I'm going to try to talk you out of this. Yep. And I know that if you want to try something, I'm going to take you down and that'll be that. But I really would prefer to do it this way. What do you think gives confidence to other business leaders? I mean, you're running a business now. How do you get that confidence to be the man in charge and to instill in everybody that works for you the confidence that you know what you're doing?
I think it all starts with working out. I truly believe that, all the way back already. But I was just talking about it with Marcus Aurelius. He talks about you cannot rule if you cannot even rule yourself, right? You need to be in perfect shape. Now, of course, he was crucifying, or he was condemning Christians and killing them, Catholics at the time. But his concepts, what he had, was Catholic. He's a Catholic without knowing that he was a Catholic. All the principles were there. Be in shape, be what God wants you. Temple of the Holy Ghost within you, whom you have from God. You're not your own, for you were bought with a price. So glorify God in your body. Treat it with respect. And if you do that, that's good for the body, mind, and especially the soul. And then you can think the best. You're always ready for whatever is going to happen because you're not drunk, you're not doing this, your temperance, your cardinal virtues, you have everything under control. And once I found that out, that's fighting. I had that in fighting. In fighting, I would say, I do this, this, and this. And whatever I told myself, I was never going to lie to myself. And it happened twice that I didn't do it. And in the middle of the night, I can't sleep. My conscience, and I go to the gym and I finish the workout and add 3 rounds. And then when it happened the second time, I was literally after a workout, I go, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. Now I'm just going to do, because it would be like if I say I do 12 rounds and I only did 9, I could not live with myself. I always installed it in me. All the logs that I had, every workout I had with power training, it's always a lot of repetitions, and you have the same weight or more. And then I would keep it going. And suddenly I go to 30 repetitions instead of 25. Now the weight's going to get increased. Write it down. Constantly push, push, push with everything you do. But the most important one is, and that's what I always tell people, whatever you tell to yourself that you go to do or not do that.
Yeah.
Don't break the word to yourself. If you're not true to your word to yourself, that's when addiction, that's where everything starts. And I had that perfectly under control with fighting, but except next to fighting, I didn't have that because I shot in all devices because I thought, hey, I can do whatever I want to do. I'm free. Not realizing that I was a slave to all these freaking things,
Yeah. You talked at the beginning about having asthma as a kid, and we were talking about breathing. Something, and that's your company now, teaching. Tell us a little bit about your company, first of all.
So, now, I was a very asthmatic person, and I realized I was doing track and field at a high level already at the time. I was young, but I was very good. And high jump, big, long jump, far jump, javelin, decathlon. That was my thing. Bruce Jenner, I won. Yeah. He was the 1976 gold medalist. He was my freaking hero. I would restart my track and field. And then my worst subjects, 400 meter, 800 and 1500 meter, I would suddenly break my running times all the time. Why is that? Is the medication, whatever it is. I went to the doctor's office and I saw a drawing of a pair of lungs at the wall. And they had the bronchial tubes. And one that showed an infected bronchial tube and the other one showed a healthy bronchial tube. And I go, hallelujah. I've been working out my lungs. I thought my lungs were doing the work at the time with resistance, pulling air in through the infected area, making my lungs stronger because they had to do that. So then when the infection is gone and now the lungs are stronger, it's easy for them to pull air in. Why don't they come up with something that controls the air intake? And that's how it started with a washer. I put a metal washer in front of my teeth, and I would try to make the hole from the washer every time a little smaller, and it would breathe through my teeth. Don't do that. Very dangerous. If it shoots in your lung, it bypasses a bronchial tube, you're dead, right? They can't Heimlich it out, so don't do that. And I started to realize that I shouldn't do that. But then later on in life, I was always talking about my invention, the Ruttenizer, that was the original name. And my body's going like, dude, you got to make that thing. You got to make that thing. Now, I was still using an inhaler. Everywhere where I went, I had to carry one with me. Because if I sneeze violently, I have to open up my lungs. Still have asthma. I trained 3.5 weeks with the prototype. Gone. Never used an inhaler in my life anymore. So I go, okay, call my friend in Holland. Hey, I'm going to send you something. Just do it. I know he has asthma, but I don't tell him anything. He calls me 8 days later. He says, I want to sell him in Europe. He says, my asthma is gone. I go, whoa. Now, it's something that I didn't invent. It's inspiratory muscle training. It's been there for a long time. But my basic concept was so basic that I had the patent for it. And then I start working on it. So what it does is it trains your diaphragm. Your diaphragm, I always say, is like a ball cap. Imagine this is a ball cap, right? It's a thin dome-shaped muscle tendon / thing. It's really not thick, 4 millimeters, so that's a 1/4 inch. And what it does, it drops down the whole time. It's attached to the bottom of your rib cage. And from this angle, you see what it does. It expands in your body. So it presses your chest out. That creates a negative pressure or a vacuum, whatever you want to call it, between your body and the lungs. And that vacuum, that opens up your lungs. Everybody, if I take the deepest breath you can right now. You see, you're raising your shoulders. Yeah. That's 100% wrong. So what you're doing right now, no, but that's 95%. Yeah. That was me too. Even in my world title fights. I have literally clips, you see me in a world title fight. Yeah. We forget how to breathe. We do it perfect. But look at the baby; it's perfect. Won't move the chest, whatever, until we're 5.5 years of age. Because then we go to school, we sit down, we have belts, we see girls. Oh, girls! Oh, what? If I breathe like this, they might think I'm fat. These are the reasons. The doctor, hey, take a deep breath. Let me listen to your lungs. Your lungs are not here, so you think your lungs are here.
Yeah.
So you're accessing just the top part. Once you start just breathing diaphragmatically, you're gonna go, dude, I'm breathing way better. Now imagine doing that, and the inspiratory muscle training is 5 minutes a day. It works out those muscles. It will force you also to use those muscles. So your breathing goes from this, which is called vertical breathing, to horizontal breathing. And once you have the horizontal breathing down, that's when everything really starts.
Divine mercy time.
The divine mercy time, that's why it goes. But you see, so training those muscles, giving them more endurance, is just the other athletes don't see it yet. It's a 20% increase, which is in sports dramatic, And I go like, I don't understand. More people now start doing it, thankfully. Alexander Usyk. I was doing a movie with him. He had the smashing machine with The Rock. He plays Igor Vovchanchyn. And I asked him, because I want to, of course, give him one of my products. I said, what do you do for your breathing? He says, I got this device. It's my competition, but it's a good device. I said, oh, no, keep using it. I didn't even tell him that I had one. Yeah. But I thought, but he's the one guy from the pros that actually does it by himself. And that's why he beats a guy like Tyson Fury in 12 rounds, who's much bigger than him. You see, because he's got the stamina to back it up.
So are you ever coaching? I mean, I assume you're coaching athletes, but what about like CEOs and presidents of companies like that are trying to be at the peak of their game?
Yeah.
Reading, sleeping. Like we hear all these things that are so important for keeping our brain sharp. Do you talk to them about just the simple art of breathing?
My wife has been saying this for a long time. Try to find, because corporation, I guarantee you, if you do this, if you do the auto traders, like I said, 5 minutes a day, it's less. I do just 5 minute timer. 5 minutes a day is dramatic change, but you have to do it for 6 weeks in order to retrain your whole body. Yeah. But everybody does it for 3 days with a short attention span, and they go, it doesn't work. I go, why don't you? Oh, so you can go to the gym and in 3 days you can change your body? Give it 6 weeks. Yeah. And then watch your food, see what happens. I literally wake up in the morning, go to my man cave, put my auto trainer in, I do my 5 minutes workout, and boom, first hour is forgot. Then it starts. My first hour is forgot, but after I did the auto trainer, immediately you feel the expansion, and immediately everything becomes better because you have more air. And think about this: why is air and spirit the same in Aramaic and in Hebrew and in Latin? That word is exactly the same. So breath and spirit are used the same. That should tell people something. Hey, maybe I should focus on breathing.
So you are a fighter, and you invent this device, become a businessman really quickly.
Yep.
What'd you learn through that process of now running a business? I mean, do you enjoy it? Is that?
I always enjoy it, but and listen, with me, it's the things, everything I do and support works 100%. I have missed big deals, $120,000 for a mouthpiece, or this for that, but I didn't believe in it. Yeah. And then later on, if they said, "Hey, that actually sucked," I say, "You could tell."
So follow your gut.
I could have got $120,000, but it's the fast money. I go for the long run, So everything I promote, I always make sure that it works 100%. So make sure of that, and the thing is also so that you're behind it. That is for me the same as speaking to the kid, to youth. I speak at Ave Maria now in March, at the college for these young guys and girls, because the men are becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. And I want to talk to them like, hopefully they respect me because of the background that I had. I see, and that's why I think also everything happens for a reason. Yeah. God gave me that. It's like St. Paul. I mean, that was not good for people, but he became the strongest freaking apostle there was. Yeah. And I think with me, now I get maybe a little bit of respect from those kids. And they got to go, listen, man, he's been there. He did all the drugs, all the things, everything that they do, I did times 20. Trust me. I was insane. And then to tell those guys that it's not going to go anywhere. That time, if you spend that time on something, on an art, on a skill, you improve your life so dramatically. Yeah. I think I can connect with them. And that's what I really enjoy. Coaching always with fighting. And I think I'm a really good coach. I think I'm a great fighter, but I think I'm a better coach even. Yeah. I can just pick things out immediately, what is wrong. And I want to have that with talking because it's really needed. I want them not to be like I was.
So, I have a bunch of kids, and telling them something is never going to get them to do it because, dad's an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about, even though I've lived it and done it.
Yep.
So what advice are you giving to these kids to make that change, to say, man up?
Well, we all want the six packs. We all want it's the six packs is not going to give you the confidence. The confidence that you're going to get is from going to the gym 5 times a week to get that six pack.
Yeah.
That's where they get confidence, bro. Because everybody wants to take a pill. I'm going to lose weight, take a pill. I will heartburn, take a pill. Blood pressure, take a pill. Everything is a pill, a cheat code. Nobody wants to work. Heartburn.
Yeah.
That's your body telling you don't eat that.
Yeah.
It's not good for me, No. Drink a bottle of Pepto-Bismol and because then I can still eat whatever. But no, don't. If you just clean up your life, not everything has to be nice. My protein shakes on purposely, don't do vanilla. I do no taste. I don't care about, that's what I always say with protein, for instance. I was checking out which protein is the best. Go on Amazon and then you look at the reviews and then you look at the 1-star reviews because I want to know. You know what the complaint is? The taste. Why do you get protein? Is it a drink for you? No, it's for my muscle. I don't care what it tastes like. If it tastes like crap, I really don't care. If it's the best for my body, I'll drink it. So if somebody tells me it's like putting a pink ballet suit on and it makes you stronger, I will wear a pink ballet suit. I don't care what people think. I just look for what is working for you. And that's what you have to do. And if you're overweight, you're going to have to start working out. It's going to make you feel better. But it takes a couple of weeks. You need to shoot into it. But once you shoot into it and you feel it, that's the same with breathing. You go like, dude, why didn't I do this 10 years ago? And that's with me too, with my alcohol and drug abuse and everything that I did. Why didn't I do this 25 years ago?
So, Bas, you travel a lot to visit different people, give talks. We've got a lot of members that are busy in business, that are traveling constantly. I travel to a lot of places, eat really nice meals. Like, how do you stay fit and eat healthy at the same time? I mean, traveling all the time, you don't have time to go have go find the healthy
option.
Idea, yeah.
Yeah, well, then if you have trouble with weight, I say go to carnivore, right? And then unfortunately, it's going to cost you a little bit more because probably you're going to say, okay, don't eat the fries, don't eat anything, give me 2 steaks, just 2 steaks. Throw 6, 7, 8 eggs on it, whatever you want to do. I eat 10 eggs a day. And I eat a lot
That's
of
like
meat.
the Rocky diet, isn't it? Just raw eggs
raw
there?
eggs. I do that actually in the morning.
Yeah.
It's 2 or 3 raw eggs. It's protein. It's collagen. It's creatine. That's it. And I have MTE. That's like more than energy. It's a powder that is.
Now, I know you like fighting in the cage. Are they cage-free eggs or just regular? I'm just curious.
Cage-free eggs. Good one. But as long as the eggs are good, and the meat is good, you can eat as much as you want. But once I started doing that, my cholesterol was actually down.
Yeah.
People go like, so it's all a myth. Please don't believe that stuff. It's going to make you healthy. And it's easier to control, just doing protein, fish, chicken, whatever it is, just do that. And a workout, and nobody can say this now, I have these workouts, audio workouts. When I shot the movie with The Rock in Vancouver, I'll go in for my visa. Right away, the security heard that I was there, so they came all over to say hi. And then one of these guys said, hey, did you know that in order for us to pass our test here, to become the border security, we have to know your workout. It's an audio workout. I go, you're kidding me. I say, I'm going to use that as a commercial. I say, you better believe that. So when I left, 6 weeks later, this big guy sits there and said, Bas Rutten. He goes, did you know? I said, that you have to do my workout? And he goes, how do you know that? I go, they told me when I got in. So it's an audio workout. The Marines, the military, the SEAL teams, they sent me videos from overseas. It's the most simple thing ever.
Yeah, so what is an audio workout versus, so I did, Insanity for a while, because you can go and do it in your hotel room. You don't need any equipment. I'm curious about this audio workout.
Audio workout sounds like this. Okay. Left body, cross hook, cross liver. Right body, liver. Right body, liver, left hook. I mean, boom, boom, boom. These are all left combinations. Hook, right, so what's going to happen?
Right body, left hook. 10 seconds
but you see how fast this goes. So now you have to listen to my instructions and you have to throw these combinations out.
And
how long is it?
These are 10 rounds for 10 minutes. That workout, I told. Be crazy. I know it by heart now. I know all the combinations. But the newest one I have, the 10 rounds of that newest, I cannot even hit every combination. It's that insane. But for people with ADHD or ADD, what if It doesn't matter. It's such a calm thing because you hear a voice and you have to do what it is. So you have only one focus. If you have more focus, there's no way you can do the workout. So it's really good to control yourself.
So you told us about the first hours for God.
Yes.
After your little workout,
Yes.
5-minute workout, diaphragm workout. What does that entail?
Entails. Okay. It starts with the Little Crown of Mary. That's a prayer we do. I do that with a few other guys as well. So every day we check in on text messages. Then I do the Auxilium Christianorum from Father Ripperger, who's a friend of mine. So it's cool to have a guy like that I can always ask for advice.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next one, I do all the readings that I have to do that day. I do a Divine Intimacy page from the Divine Intimacy book. If you don't do that, I highly suggest do that.
Who writes that? The Divine Intimacy.
It's a very old book. It's been taken out of the Catholic Church for a while, and now it's full on. It's for priests.
Okay.
So it's you can tone down a little bit on it, but you always want to do what it says. But it's powerful. I really enjoy it. Then we do our readings. Also, we have a whole group with guys who do the same readings. So we're now at Jeremy 5, I think, believe today. So we read that whole verse. Then I do a rosary.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be the hour. Then I walk the dog. And while I walk the dog, I do the Lady of Fatima prayer. I do the Lady of Guadalupe prayer when I'm at the river because it's the Guadalupe River. and
this is down in Texas, right?
In Texas, yeah. And then the angels I got. At 3 o'clock, I do the Divine Mercies. Just saw the alarm going off. At 6, I probably throw in another angelus if I can. In the evening, I do an examination of conscience every night. And then I wrap it up with like 15 prayers to my favorite saints.
So where did you get that formation? I mean, in 2014, you have this reversion. But when you have a reversion, it's not like, oh, I'm going to just fill this whole hour. Like, where did that formation come from?
It just started by adding on. I realized that every time I added something to it, I started to feel better. And now it's one of these things, like I probably started doing this routine like 10 years ago, but I get the prayers, like exactly all those prayers. But then when people say, but like, did you ever miss a rosary? Never. Did you ever miss a morning prayer? Never. Did you ever miss an evening prayer? Never. See, I just make a habit. But I'm the guy who uses Sterling signal when I go into my street at 4 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
You see, I just don't want to break habits. If it's a good habit, why would you break it?
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost me any energy. Just be good to other people also. If they're behind you, just be a good person. And as long as I do that with my ADHD mind, then I have perfectly everything under control. That's what I used to do to control it all when I was a kid because I was insane. And I just applied that all to fighting. Very good for fighting because whatever I tell myself I'm going to do, I already said, I will 100% do it. If I say yes to you, that's it. I said yes.
Yeah.
I didn't say maybe. So I committed. Now I'm in. You see, so if I say no, it's no. Like my kids, most of the time it's always yes. I'm very easy, but they know when I say no, I don't want you. They don't even ask a second time. Because once I said no, they can do whatever they want to do. But then if I thought about it and it's no, it's no.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen a lot because thankfully I have really good kids.
So how did you prep yourself for some of these big fights?
It's calm. Calm is everything. Calm mind beats everything. Like if I have a guy in my room who says, hey, we'll rip his head off, you're out. You cannot be in my room. We are making jokes. We're cracking jokes. We're playing cards. We're doing something. It's always fun. There's fun music on. Most of the time, disco. I really just like disco. Work out on disco. And it keeps everybody happy. Yeah. And I think a calm mind is way better than a stress mind, and especially in business also, people should do that as well. You need to go calm to a meeting if you're all stressed out.
Yeah. So how do you suggest that for a business leader that's in the office and it's like I'm prepping for this board meeting and I'm going crazy because I'm not really prepared. I'm not feeling it. What do I do?
The breathing pattern to start. If you're stressed out, but sit down 10 minutes. Don't expect a wonder happens in a minute of breathing. Just say, okay, you know what? Let me remove myself from everywhere. And if you start breathing in, you can do either box breathing or you can do the what I did is the 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out. And if you do the humming out, where you feel your stomach vibrate, you're stimulating the vagus nerve. That drops your levels, your heart rate, heartbeat, blood pressure, cortisol levels. And then after 10 minutes, you're literally going to feel better. But you simply, 10 minutes is a long time for people right now because they're constantly on the stupid phones doing that.
Right.
Then you can start thinking clearly and then break it down. Yeah. What is so bad about it? Do you know it? Yeah, I know it now. So why wouldn't you know it if you're up there? It's nerves, of course, but everybody has nerves. Why would you have nerves? I try to break everything down. If you do it for you and not for other people or are not afraid. I always said to fighters, fight for yourself.
Yeah.
And it sounds really like egomaniac. It's not. Because once I care about what you think and you think and you think, I put so much pressure on myself going to a fight. And especially when I start to, I got to knock him out. Don't do that. What? You don't need to do that. Just relax, And if you do everything just for yourself, what can go wrong? And if it goes wrong, well, omnia causa fiat. I said, everything happens for a reason, right? Just don't be afraid. God has a plan. Just relax. You won't change anything by being stressed out. What other people think of you, you can't control what other people think. All these things, why would you drive yourself nuts about what it was a like? They give you a like, and I don't understand the social media anymore, and they don't even like you. They just do it to make you feel good. They do a heart, but we are so wanting for people that you don't know.
We want to get as many hearts and thumbs up as we can. And for what reason? Like
I started doing Exodus 90 8 years ago. I haven't stopped every year I did it, but you can see my social media, went 80% down after the first year. Because that's when I realized, oh my God, I'm wasting so much time.
Yeah.
I can read a book.
Right.
I can learn something instead of watching TV and being online the whole time or answering people. They can.
Absolutely.
They don't care.
Yeah. So you have a pet peeve of people being late to things.
Yes.
Like why is being on time so important to you?
I think it's a respect thing. I think you need to be on time. If I'm making an appointment, I'm there most of the time 15 minutes early. And if I can be on time, why can't you be on time?
Yeah.
So with the fighters, the same. They come late. I say, that's 1, 2 is out. Because, but no, 2 is out. You simply, and then they come a second time, say, I can't do it anymore. Maybe in a time you can train here, and I can see you do something with other guys and really put your mind into it. Yeah. I can stand it. If a student, he wants me to pick out a mistake that he makes, and I say, okay, there's a lot of mistakes. I had this with one guy. I said, well, fix the first one. And once you fix this, we'll go to the next one. And 2 weeks later, he comes back to me and goes, what were the other things? I go, you didn't even fix the first one. Yeah. Why would I even come to you if you don't listen to me? Because it doesn't matter what I say, you don't do it.
Let's correlate that to the prayer life and to God. Like we show up in the morning or we've had a long day, we go to mass and I'm getting tired. I just want to, I'm just going to close my eyes for a minute or, my mind is somewhere else, What do you recommend? How do you fix
force
that?
it. And I always thought about that. If I work out my body, right, but I don't want to work out, well, I still do it. That means now I worked out my body, but not only my body. I worked out my mind as well. I just made myself stronger because I did something I didn't want to do. And I apply that to praying as well. Because sometimes 3 o'clock it starts and I was sitting here, Divine Mercy goes off. Okay, now it's in the back of my head, I still have to do that. And sometimes you don't want to do it at that moment. But I believe, with that experience that I just said, if you still do it, even when you don't want to do it, but you focus on it, you still do it, I think it will give you more grace because you didn't want to do it. Now, don't start acting like you don't want to do it to get more grace because God knows better than us.
God knows the true intentions.
Try to find the loopholes, Don't do that. That's why I do the hour for God. I do the most of my praying and everything. And at 8 a.m. right now, I just started going back to the mass again also. But this all happens at 5 o'clock. So I did the hour for God. I worked out. I showered. I ate. And then at least an hour before. Otherwise, I eat after church. Mm-hmm. And then I go do the mass
for daily mass, yeah.
Yeah, but it is just doing it, even if you don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. That's the trick. We all want to avoid the things we don't want to do. But if you do it, every day I tell my kids too, you have to do every day you have to do something that you don't want to do. Just to keep your mind, because everything nice and then it's not going to help us. It makes us weaker.
Discipline is a word that's lost on the current generation.
100%. Sure. I think I get the best line for that. It's not my line. I just memorized this line. I heard this guy saying it. I said, dude, that I love. Discipline is the highest form of self-love. It's saying no to something that you really want right now. Like, let's say you want a world title, right? But in front of you is, there's cake, there's alcohol, there's drugs, there's women, all these things. Saying no to that right now for something greater later on. So discipline reveals the commitment you made to yourself. That means the future you is depending on the current you, that you better do what you said you were going to do. And when I heard that line, I go, dude, because it's the truth.
Yeah.
You have one goal. God, okay. You have to wipe down everything on the side. All these vices are coming. Like I said yesterday in the talk, they're bullies. They only go as far as you let them. Mm-hmm. So if you say stop and you overcome it, that's it. The bullies are out of the way. Now fight the next one. And don't try to find 10 vices at the same time. Like with me, it was simple because it was drugs, it was everything. But alcohol was the one that if I did that, that's when I would go to the drugs. So once I stopped alcohol, then the drugs and everything was very easy to stop because it always started with alcohol. You see, and then you find out once you're here in the faith, then the pride things, the little pride things, not the bragging things. I think I always say, just shut up, and that's saved. But it's the little things you get hurt because somebody doesn't thank you for something. Or you let him into in front of your car and he doesn't thank you. Like that's all pride. It's all pride. You don't do it for that. You do it for the right reasons. Right. It's because it's the right thing to do. Don't do things for a thank you. And don't assume. That's my biggest one as well. I give you one example because that leaves the mark. Friend of mine, his wife has stomach pains. They go to the doctor, right? Go to the doctor, and the doctor says stomach cancer stage 4 or 5. She's going to live probably 3 weeks. 12 days later, she was dead. Now imagine that happened, right? And they're walking down the elevator. They come in, and the guy opens the door for them. And say, "Hey, there you go," and they just walk out. And the guy goes, "Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome." You see, you don't know what's going on in the life from people. Mm-hmm. The guy that cuts you off on the freeway, right? He could be a Nobel Prize winning physicist. Just had a phone call that his wife is in the hospital. That's what I always say in my talks. You don't know.
You don't know the other story.
With our pride, let's just think, he's just to do it. No, you don't know why he's doing that. And most of the time you're right in traffic. Yeah. But there's that one time that you're maybe not. We just think we know, but we don't. Assuming, when you assume something, that somebody thought something about you, how many times you've been right?
No, never.
5%, maybe 3%? Right? Yeah. Never
assume with your wife either.
That's a big one, yeah. Or else.
Or else.